first trip there. Let's start with a short history of Angkor Wat. It is a Hindu temple that was built more than 900 years ago, but now it's Buddhist. It is the largest religious monument in the world and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Angkor Wat is an amazing temple and it's a fantastic place to take photographs. Now, I'll talk about my first trip there. Last year, my friends and I spent 4 days in Cambodia in the city of Siem Reap. We visited Angkor Wat and other temples. We visited Angkor Wat twice because there was so much to see. Angkor Wat has a moat and a long wall around it, so it takes a long time to see the whole area. There are many awesome statues and wall carvings to see. My friends and I spent 2 days taking photos, and we saw some incredible scenery. At the end of our trip, I realized how great Angkor Wat is. I will never forget my trip. I was so impressed with the beauty of Angkor Wat. It is one of the world's greatest architectural wonders. I highly recommend that you go there. Through travel, we can learn about world history and discover beautiful places at the same time.
Presentation skills, hand gestures too. For this section, we'll look at some basic gestures that good presenters use. Using these can make your presentations more powerful and emotional. The first gesture is to raise one or two fists to show that you feel strongly about an issue or thing. We can look at two examples. The first one is using one fist.
I think it's important to always do your best.
The second gesture uses two fists.
We must do something soon, or it will be too late.
So, do remember to use this gesture for strong feelings. The second gesture is to put one or two hands on your heart or upper chest to show an emotion or feeling. It can be negative or positive. We can look at two examples. The first one uses one hand on the heart or chest area.
Personally, I love my hometown.
The second gesture uses two hands, one on top of the other, on the heart or chest area.
It was a very difficult time.
The third gesture is to use one or two outstretched hands, palms facing up, to grab the audience's attention. Again, let's look at two examples. The first one uses two outstretched hands.
How do you feel about this topic?
The second gesture uses one hand only, and this can be your right hand or your left hand.
Do you think we can make the world a better place?
The next gesture is a very common one. It is to use your fingers to indicate order or numbers. This one is easy to understand and do. Look at the first examples showing numbers.
There is one main reason why I went there.
There are two people who have influenced me a lot.
There are 3 people in my family.
To indicate order, fingers or hands are also used by many presenters. Let's look at the example.
The first important thing is to make strong eye contact. The second important point is to speak loudly and clearly. Third, you need to have fun giving your presentation.
Pair activity for hand gestures too. Example answers. For this activity, we have examples of presenters using the 4 main gestures that were taught in this unit. Look at the examples and try to follow what the presenters are doing with their fingers or hands. Please note that using one or two hands for a gesture depends on the presenter. There is no rule for using one or two hands. Either way is okay.
First of all, I learned how important it is to smile. Second, I learned that we must be positive.
I loved my high school.
There are two reasons why I decided to study English. First, it is a common world language. Second, English is important for the global economy.
Personally, I'm not a big fan of horror movies.
How do you feel about this topic?
As for me, I learned so much from my homestay in New Zealand.
I think it's important that more homes have solar power panels.
What does everyone in the audience think about this question?
If you want to be a good guitar player, there are several things you have to do. First of all, you have to know how to tune a guitar. Second, you have to know how to play chords. Third, you need to practice a lot.
I strongly feel that everyone should study history.
We all should be careful about how we spend money.
My sister and I are best friends.
Hi everyone, I have a question for you. How many of you have a Facebook account? Okay. How many have Twitter or Line? As you can see, many of us use social media or SNS. But how much does it benefit our lives? Even though I use Facebook and Line every day, I strongly believe that social media can be harmful. Today, I want to tell you the 2 reasons why I feel this way. First of all, social media takes up too much of our time. I read in an article that an average student spends 90 minutes a day on social media. That is 15 hours a week, almost the same as my part-time job. Personally, I think that time should be spent on a hobby or having fun with friends or family. To me, 15 hours a week reading other people's comments and watching viral videos does not give you a better life. Another way that social media is harmful is that it can be dangerous. When you meet new people online, you don't know who they really are. It is easy for a stranger to lie about his or her profile. At the same time, there's a lot of online bullying and cyberstalking. This is a growing trend. So I truly believe that social media can be harmful. Social media can be enjoyable if you use it correctly. But in my opinion, spending too much time online can definitely be harmful. How do you feel about social media?
Presentation skills. Emphasizing words with gestures. Activity 1. There are different ways to emphasize key words or points in your presentation. 1. Say a word louder. 2. Say certain words or expressions slowly. 3. Use a simple hand gesture to emphasize your main points. Now, let's watch the presenters giving us good examples of how to use gestures and voice to emphasize important points.
Personally, I think it's important to know all the facts.
Don't you think that there are too many people in this world?
I feel that it's important to have good presentation skills.
Did you know that most people fall in love only once?
I feel that we must communicate about the problem first.
In my opinion, it's important to know at least 2 languages.
How do you feel about this situation?
According to the WWF, elephants need to be protected.
How do you feel about religion?
What do you think about space travel?
Presentation skills. Emphasizing words with gestures. Activity 2. Along with saying important words louder, we can also use a right hand, left hand gesture to show emphasis. The right hand should be stretched out for the first part of the sentence, and then the left hand will be stretched out for the second half of the sentence. Now, let's watch the presenters use this gesture and emphasize certain words at the same time.
I think children should learn 2 languages and spend at least 1 semester abroad in high school.
I see your point. However, I still believe smoking should be banned in public spaces. It is important to enjoy eating, but we shouldn't waste food.
Most people are against smoking in public.
There is a lot we can do concerning plastic pollution.
Some students spend too much time playing video games.
I believe that all students should not use their phones in class.
There are no good reasons to allow phones in class.
The best thing is to put in more effort.
I would like to go to Mars, but I will not want to travel in a rocket. I love painting, and one of my favorite artists is the Dutch painter Vincent van Gogh. Unfortunately, Van Gogh had an unhappy life and killed himself at 37 years old. Today, I'm going to talk about his life and work and tell you why I love his art. Vincent van Gogh was born in the Netherlands in 1853. He began painting he was 28 years old. Later, Vincent moved to Paris where he studied art. From 1888 to 1890, Van Gogh lived in southern France. Here, his paintings became very colorful and emotional. However, Van Gogh couldn't sell any of his paintings and he was poor. Vincent van Gogh had an unhappy life. He had 2 sad romances but did not marry. He had mental problems that slowly became worse. He spent his last year in a hospital and finally, in 1890, he shot himself and died. After his death, Van Gogh's greatest works were all sold in less than 3 years. Today, Van Gogh is considered one of the greatest artists of all time. Now, I would like to tell you 3 reasons why I admire him. First, he devoted his life to art and created more than 900 paintings, even though many people didn't like his work. The second reason is that his paintings are so passionate and emotional. Finally, I loved the fantastic bright colors in his art. My favorite painting is Starry Night. It is a magical painting of the night sky over a town. Although Vincent van Gogh only sold one painting during his life, today his art is famous throughout the world. Unfortunately, he lived a sad life, but still, he gave the world such inspirational art. Thank you, Vincent van Gogh. You are a beautiful person.
Presentation skills. Hand gestures 3. Activity A. In this video, we'll look at more hand gestures to use for your presentations. Remember, gestures are an important part of English presentations. Use gestures to make your message clearer and more powerful.
I was really hoping to get the job.
Now, listen to my story.
I didn't understand.
It was a very small part of the work.
The cost for his business went higher.
First, I'll tell you about her family.
Everything was okay in the end.
On the one hand, he lived a sad life. On the other hand, he created great art.
The young boy was very short.
Presentation skills. Hand gestures 3. Activity B. Watch the video for examples of more hand gestures you can use for your presentations.
I didn't understand what he was saying.
The prices went down.
It was quite long.
What do you really want from life?
I was very surprised to hear the story.
I didn't like it, and I told the children to stop.
It was no good.
I really believe that we all can do it.
I forgot my keys. I felt so stupid.
Presentation skills. Tips for using gestures. There is an appropriate area for gestures. It is from the shoulder area to the waist. If you go outside of the area, it will be distracting. Let's look at 2 examples of good gesture practice.
I believe that we all can do it.
The cost of the trip went down by 50%.
Let's look at this example of bad gesture practice. Don't raise your hands too high.
I didn't understand.
There is one more thing to be careful about. Don't be too extreme with your facial gestures.